Welcome back to One Man's Journey podcast. I'm Ryan Speltz, and today I always say excited. I got to get a better word for that, but I am excited. I've been following this guy for a while on Instagram. His story is fantastic. I can't wait for him to tell you about it and show you that you can come from a place that's not great and get to a place that is pretty awesome. This is Ben Albert from Real Business Connections. And I'm going to pass it off to him and let him tell his story from wherever he wants to start to wherever he wants to finish. So take it away, Ben.
Ryan, brother, let's start with this moment. Thank you. I know you're gaining momentum on the podcast. I love what you're doing. I love the purpose. I hope this conversation's a chapter in the listener's life that they take one nugget, just even one nugget, and implement 5 minutes, 15 minutes, make a 30-minute change a day. That'd be kick ass. But no guarantees, just here to serve, man. And where do people usually like to start? I can start at childhood, but that took a
Yeah.
long time to get through the whole thing.
No, I know. Yeah, I mean, I've had people go all the way back to their first kind of memory aspect of how they grew up. If that's a point that drives you to where you're at and what you're doing, I would encourage you to share that. If it doesn't, then I would say start wherever your recent journey starts and kind of show like we talked about before the show. I really enjoyed the vulnerability of that post that I reached out on, and I think that that story is the one that's going to be pretty impactful. And if you wanted to lend from your childhood for that, that's okay too. So
Cool. I mean, we'll start with a general philosophy of mine that everything that happened in our past is preparing us for who we get to become today. All the scars, all the wins, whether it's a win, let's say we're building a foundation for the house we get to build. We're building a foundation with bricks. I get a win, I place that brick. I have a loss, I have a failure, I have a scar, I still place that as a brick. So all these things prepare us for who we get to become. And I'll tell you a little bit about like why I do what I do. And I didn't even realize that all this stuff was preparing me for what I get to do today. And, funny, I'll go to the fact I wanted to be a basketball player when I was younger. Had a literally was watching Michael Jordan, Vince Carter dunk competition, wanted to ultimately be dunking, wanted to be in the NBA. I had a jersey for every single day of the week. We're talking about elementary school into middle school at this time, and had a jersey for every single day of the week. I was the shortest boy in my entire school. I was actually the second shortest kid behind a little Asian girl named Olivia Lee. So I had skills. I'd play basketball all day, but what do you think happens when you're tiny and you're skinny? You're getting pushed around a lot. You're bullied. I don't have to go deep into this. I can if you'd like me to, but I had an interesting household. My mom had a neurological disorder, multiple sclerosis, which was causing a lot of mental problems, a little bit of depreciation in her physical health. And my dad was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And I didn't even know it at the time. I just thought that, wobbling around and having bloodshot eyes was normal. But I felt kind of disconnected at home. And then I wanted to be a basketball player, but I was a tiny kid and I was getting pushed around. So I was kind of an awkward kid. And it wasn't until about high school that I actually took a transition in my life. My brother and a good friend of mine, two people really, my brother and my friend Brendan Gansmer, both showed me music. Now I had listened to music, but like they got me into it, burning mixtapes. I started going to live concerts, and the person who wanted to be a basketball player shifted into being wanting to be a musician. And ultimately, I was the guy handing out flyers for local bands in high school. I was wearing merchandise. I was selling merchandise. I grandfathered into booking shows and promoting shows, setting up MySpace pages. Really, quite literally, just amplifying a good thing. There was no money involved. There was no business involved. It was just passion and purpose because I loved music, and my energy of sports just migrated into music, and I put all my attention and energy into marketing musicians. And Ryan, this was before I even knew what marketing was. It was just taking a good thing and amplifying it. And if we were to kind of kickstart, fast forward to today, that's what I do for a living. Real Business Connections and my firm, Balbert Marketing. Real Business Connections is a podcast, and it's all about getting the wisdom from the folks who have it to the folks who are looking for it. And I need wisdom. I started the podcast to learn from brilliant people and amplify what they do. And then Balbert Marketing's working with clients, thought leaders, leaders, business leaders, in amplifying their message to the clients that need their help. So that's just a short story to show how, like, my passion from basketball shifted into a passion for music, and it shifted into a passion of, you know what? One thing I missed, I felt really freaking small. And I think I was literally small, but part of like my love of amplifying a good thing was not feeling not good enough, feeling small, and not wanting others to feel that way. So without even knowing it, I grew a skill set for marketing, and I grew a passion for amplifying others. And now I freaking do it for a living. And it blows my mind because, yeah, man, it's not like I was planning on things going this way. And we can get into it. I had a lot of nosebleeds along the way. Kind of made that sound prettier than it was, but happy to be here. Happy to be excited to do what I do.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just typed it out, but take a good thing and amplify it. When you said it the first time, I'm like, that's the theme. Like that, there's your YouTube title right there. Like this is perfect, the perfect way to look at it. And it's really like that hit home for me as a new theme in my life as well. So when you're going through this, I'm just sitting here nodding, like like the feeling small, the being able to take other people and amplify what they're doing to make to make them not feel small. Um, in that way, I do want to ask you, because a common theme that I've had through those same similar feelings, have you, like, when you feel small, are you waiting for, like, when you amplify that person, have you found yourself ever waiting for that person then to go, oh, I'm this big because of Ben? Has the ego ever taken into that account of like, I did that and he's not calling me out, so now I'm going to move on to the next person, kind of thing?
It's a good question. Haven't thought about this too much. I think like like most people that weren't like the quote unquote popular kid when they were younger, I probably have a little bit of a need to be liked, a little bit of wanting to fit in. So yeah, I mean, I do seek validation. If I'm loving on somebody all day and they're not paying attention, that's kind of a hit to my ego, right? But I haven't really thought about that because at the end of the day, it's all I can do is show up and serve. All I can do is do my best to be a positive influence in this world. And if it's, I've learned this again, I haven't thought about this much because I feel like my mindset has changed over the years. Like back in the day, I really needed validation. I've learned that if I show up, add value, give 20x what I receive, I'm still going to receive in abundance anything I need. But to do something with the expectation of reciprocation or praise is like it's so ego driven to expect I helped Ryan. He's required to help me. I just go out, man, and if I see something I like, I amplify it, I share it, I spread the message. And I know that that creates a ripple that makes the communication in this world better. It makes people's mindset better. It makes people grow skills. But yeah, man, it's not about the acknowledgement's nice though, but it's not about the acknowledgement. It's about the impact we create.
Yeah, and I think you do a great job of representing that as well through your content. You, like you said, you kind of prettied it up a little bit. You avoided some bloody noses in those stories. Tell me a little bit more about that post that I reached out on, about like where you came from, like what, like that person that was in college that is not this Ben, right? And it's not this version of Ben, right? Because you're still the same person, just a better version. But tell me a little bit about like how that came, and what, at what point did you realize like it was time to change, or did you ever have that realization? You just woke up one day and you're like, oh, I already changed. It's great.
Yeah, I wish it just happened in a flash. I mean, in 2020, COVID hit, literally worldwide trauma going on. Like that was complicated stuff. But during the course of just over a year, I got let go from my sales executive position. And then I started a business, my first ever official business, and replaced my sales executive income in a year. Now, that's the pretty version, but that entire year I was stressed and possibly miserable because two things were happening. I don't know why that thumbs up keeps on happening. It's kind of funny, like AI's giving thumbs up or something. I don't know if you see that, but
Yeah, I do. I
um,
don't know where it's coming from either. I don't have it
people
on
listening to
anywhere.
the
So
audio probably think we're crazy, but
yeah,
look at the
well,
video.
they
My
think I'm crazy anyway, so it's all good.
Fair enough. Like I replaced my income in just over a year, but that was a long time coming. And even at that time, like I was doing well, I was doing successful in business. And I'll give you like the bare bones. Like I had a podcast I started in 2016. I was a sales exec for a marketing firm, so I understood marketing very well. I understood sales very well. And I sold a relatively high ticket product, so I didn't have to have 100 clients at, $100 a client to have a business started. Like I was able to get it moving quickly. But at the same time, I was building my business by podcasting, networking, LinkedIn, bringing on new clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Dude, I was like drinking like crazy. The pandemic was stressful. We were all stuck at home. There's a lot of uncertainty of what was going to happen next. And two things were happening simultaneously. I was hiking more than I had ever done. I was podcasting more than I had ever done. I was getting on networking calls and meeting people at a very rapid rate. I was doing all the things I was supposed to do. I was drinking water and meditating and affirmations and visualizing my future. And I was exercising and I was reading like a maniac, but I was also drinking myself to death later on in the day. So it's kind of like you start the morning off great. You have a lot of great momentum, and then you deplete all the momentum by ending the day binging on Netflix, binging on stupid crap, watching porn or junk like that, drinking. So it's like I was getting success, but I was miserable and depleted, and I was going to burn out very, very quickly. And it goes back to like I didn't really know any different. Like my dad was kind of drunk all the time. In corporate, I was in a job that I would have. I put on a mask and dude, I worked, I lived in a great place, but I can't talk today, Ryan. I worked in like a high rise building. I'm on the 14th floor, got a view of the city at night and on the holidays. They light the building up. It's gorgeous, and I would present myself as doing well, but I would put on a mask because I was miserable and I was exhausted. Every Monday, I would take a Xanax to try to get through the meetings because my anxiety and my stress was so high. So then that falls apart. I didn't realize it was happening for me. I start my business and I just was in this spiral that like I was going to burn out. It wasn't even until I'm just looking at my calendar here. It wasn't even until about 6 months ago. And slowly I've been making changes. One of the big pivotal moments is I was doing my affirmations in the morning and I'm looking myself in the mirror and I'm saying things like, you're an open channel for creative ideas. You're good enough now and you're only getting better. You attract what you want. I'm saying these things in the mirror, but my eyes are bloodshot. I'm low energy. My physiology's crap. And I know that I'm a liar. And people talk about programming the subconscious brain with something like a visualization exercise of where you're going, an affirmation of who you are. But if your physiology is off, and if you know you're a liar because you know what your actions look like, you're never actually going to be that person to the highest extent because you're doing everything in your journey to prove to yourself that you're not that person. And people wonder how to break imposter syndrome. Well, most people are imposters because their actions aren't in alignment with who they want to become. So they feel like an imposter because they know that they're wearing a mask or behind the scenes they're doing the wrong stuff. So it wasn't like I was slowly incrementally getting better, but it wasn't until like 6 months ago, a little bit under, that I just stopped drinking. I hired a personal trainer. I've been on and off working out my whole life, but like, let's invest time and money in being held accountable. So I slowed down my drinking, completely stopped it, hired a personal trainer. I've got this freaking smart water bottle that calculates how much water I drank in a day, and it lights up and tells me like you need to drink more crap like that. And like even in just a few months, the person that was successful, it's not like I like tripled my income, but I feel way freaking better, Ryan. And I think that's a message a lot of people need to hear. I was integrating everything: meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, water, gratitude, reading, action guide, income, doing financially successful. A lot of people don't need to add anything. For me, it was subtracting shit. It was subtracting the stuff. And in the front, I didn't know we'd go here, but like 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. A lot of times you don't need to add a new thing for 15 minutes. You just need to subtract something for 15 minutes. And then you can replace that time with whatever you want. But a lot of people need to just subtract something that's making them bitter for 15 minutes and then add something that'll make them better for 15 minutes. Or just
Yeah, really,
subtract it
it's like
entirely, dude.
yeah, the subtraction piece has been extremely like that's been something that's hitting home, and that's been a message I'm trying to get out there as well. Like you see all of these coaching programs and how you can add stuff and like you're developing like, oh, here's a way to go get one deal a month or two deals a month. Like add this to your plate. Like everyone, if you talk to them like, oh, I'm just so busy. Well, if you can find the least important thing or the least prioritized thing in your day and it cuts out 10 to 15 minutes, like you just said, just sit with yourself. Like literally don't turn the TV on, don't have music on, just sit and watch what happens over time because you're going to be extremely uncomfortable up front because you're so used to being turned on and so busy that you just have to go go go. But like if you're able to, like you said, just subtract that one thing just for 10 to 15 minutes, it changes your life. Like you've seen it, I've seen it. Like there's so many people out there that see it, and we can cut through all the noise and just make it as simple as possible. Just cut that one thing out. And it's addition by subtraction, and it really does change your mentality because like you were talking about with the looking at your bloodshot eyes in the mirror, you can only lie to the man in the glass for so long, right?
Right.
Like every time you wake up, you're with these affirmations and you're looking at yourself and you're like, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. I'm saying affirmations. I'm relearning. I'm retraining myself. And 3 times a week, those eyes are red as shit and you can't get through it. And it's difficult to stare at yourself in the mirror. And eventually you just get sick of lying to yourself. And some people go and just quit the affirmations and quit saying the positive stuff. But the people that are able to drop the negative stuff and cut that other piece out, those are the people that take off. And that's what like I applaud the hell out of you, man, for that like
Thank
that
you.
recognition and quitting drinking. I know how hard that can be sometimes. But like 6 months ago, you feel like I know for myself, like looking back, I'm like, man, I was a completely like I feel like a completely different person.
Mm.
And all I did was stop doing one thing that everybody else does.
It's
So
really
that
that
was yeah.
simple.
I mean, it's to me it like that's the epitome is that dropping that thing out. Um with with your business aspect, like did the because you said that you've had the same business now for a while and you've kind of added a business or two. Have the clients that you've been with for a while, were they able to pick up on anything that you were outwardly doing that or were they able to notice something different about you, or did you just start talking about it and then that brought the awareness to
It's a good question. I don't know if my clients are paying attention or not.
it?
You know, one thing that's what the reason it's a good question, I got to think about it, is my clients are tremendously busy people. They are tremendously busy people. That's why I go in, integrate my marketing systems into their business, and take it over for them. NDAs, so I'm not going to name drop, but I'm running profiles of a couple thought leaders. Like I'm doing everything. They just show up, talk to the camera, do a private interview, and then I turn that into content for months. So I don't know if they're witnessing anything. It's interesting. The people I serve don't listen to my content because they just don't. But then the people that listen to my content usually are more the early starting entrepreneurs, their business development, they're very growth driven, they're networkers, they spend a lot of time on social media. A lot of those people can't actually afford my services, but maybe down the road they will. So I put out content to help the person that needs it. And then the people that are business leaders often aren't consuming the content because they're working in their business so much that I guess that doesn't answer the question, but most of my clients don't give a shit about my content. They're out doing good things. They're spending time in their business. They're spending time with their family. I create content for the person that isn't there yet. And then
Yeah.
the person who's there is the one that I actually serve financially.
Yeah, I think Ed Milet said it recently because I've seen the quote a couple times of like serving the person of who you were or where you were
Mm-hmm.
is the way that we have to approach the content piece. But you said it didn't answer the question, and to me, it actually did answer the question because it goes right back to where you were talking about the gratification and the acknowledgement piece. The fact that you don't know means that you're doing it truly for yourself, and like your growth was driven by what was inside of you, not to please somebody else. And I think that's a fantastic statement that applauds where you're at because of that. Um, like you said, the acknowledgement is nice, but like you're just doing it because it's the right thing to do at this point, and it's what is inside of you. I think that's awesome, man, because it definitely answers that question for us. Um,
I'm also, Ryan, I'm also not asking, hey, did you see my video? Hey, take a look
right.
at my video. Hey, hey. Like, I'm putting it out for the person who needs it, and it's not going to resonate with everybody, but the person it resonates with, which is often, like you said, me 6 weeks ago, me 6 months ago, me just a year ago, that person that's only, I'm not better than anybody. I'm just a step ahead of a couple people, and the people I learn from aren't any better than me. They're just a few steps ahead of me. So that's who it resonates with, and it's not for validation. It really is for helping who needs the message.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like I said, that's a great way to approach it, and confirms what you were talking about with that validation piece.
Mm.
So moving forward, because we've seen where you came from, we've seen kind of what you're at now, and what you're approaching. What's next? Like what is your I don't want to say what's your grand plan, but like where are you going next? What do you think is the next step for yourself?
Yeah. I think I'd be more successful if I had bigger visions and bigger goals and a more tactical plan. This is where I get a little holistic in the fact that all I actually care about is crushing each day. I wake up every single morning, and this is a little dark, but I wake up every single morning. Both my parents have passed away. I'm 32. Like, I have seen darkness. I don't have to go that route, but I'm blessed to be alive every morning. The probability of me even being born is ridiculous. There's a higher probability you get struck by lightning twice than being born. So the fact that I was chosen, born healthy, in my 30s, doing fantastic, every morning I'm freaking grateful. I'm freaking blessed. And I ask myself, how can I serve today? Who can I serve today? How can I show up as my best self? And my ultimate goal at the core is to get wisdom from people who have it to people who need it, so no one has to feel small. I think our biggest expense is not having the right mentors. So I spend my time getting mentored, talking to peers, collaborating, and mentoring everywhere I can. And again, this is where it's a little holistic. I know for a fact that that creates ripples. I know for a fact that creates change. But there isn't a specific measurable SMART goal that tells me if I'm successful or not. There's not a specific revenue goal. It's, can I make the most impact in the least amount of time and the least amount of energy spend is my goal. And it's really hard to quantify that. So I actually don't know where I'm going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But I know for a fact that if I keep doing what I do today, I actually won't care where I am in 5, 10, 20 years because it's going to be exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to make the impact that I can. I hope
Yeah,
that
one of
makes
the things
sense.
that no, that makes like I'm sitting over here just like I'm gonna nod my head right off my neck, but um, I think, and I not going to put a label on where you've been, but I do believe that people that have struggled with alcohol and drugs, that mentality, if they're able to get through the addiction and through the problem or the issues, that mentality of like waking up in the morning and going, today is that day or day zero, is such a huge, it's an overarching mentality of like, it's one day at a time. And that can be so valuable for those of, for those of that are listening that haven't been through any of those addictions, or recognized that they've been through those addictions, because I'm sure there's people listening that are active addiction and don't recognize it, and that's okay. It's part of the path. But that waking up in that day zero, like you said, of just like doing the best that you can with what you have now, and knowing that you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish, because what you need is going to be given to you when you need it. That the divine timing has been something that's been like striking me over and
Mm.
over and over again recently, is like, there's things that are happening today that I wanted 3 years ago that I didn't make happen 3 years ago, because I was not the person that was ready to have those things happen. And I can see that, through what you're saying, and through your content. I think that that's a similar thing for you, is like, you're recognizing like, a year ago or a year and a half ago, you weren't ready for some of the stuff that you have right now, because you were waking up and looking yourself in the mirror with bloodshot eyes, right? Like, you were just, your body wasn't there, your mentality wasn't there, and even if it was handed to you, you probably would have fucked it up. Like, that's how I feel about some of the stuff in the past, right? Like,
100%.
if you'd have given it to me, what I have now, 3 years ago, I'd have lost my shit. Like, I would have spiraled out, and it would have been even worse. But and I do think that sobriety brings a lot of clarity in those regards. And I, again, applaud you for where you're at on that, because it's such a big thing to be able to wake up in the morning and have a clear head. And you're at that point of like, that 6 month point for me was like, man, this is awesome. I'm never going back. Like, when you hit that point, you just look back and you go, I can't even stand the smell of it anymore. You just,
Mm.
you're just running with it. And I think that's awesome. Um, if I had one direct question for you, what, and obviously with the connections you have that we can't name drop, and where you're at and who you're serving, if there was one thing that you received from those people in content that you've either edited, or discussions you've had with them, or interactions you've had, if there was one overarching thing with those people that leads to success, what would that look like, or what would that be?
Let me grab this. It'll take me about 2 seconds. So, I actually stole this from Brad Lee. Brad Lee, Dropping Bombs podcast. He says, so I actually have a keychain here, right? And on the keychain, I got a little lanyard that says there is no key. Keychain that says there is no key. Again, I'm being kind of tongue in cheek, but it's to remind myself every day that there is no one individual key to success. It's a combination lock. It's a padlock where each and every one of us has our own unique combination. Similar to the fact you get in trouble, you get arrested, what do? They take your fingerprint. Why do they take your fingerprint? Because we all have a unique fingerprint. We all have a unique DNA code. We all have a unique story. All have a unique purpose in this world. So the goal isn't to just, now I'm all about extracting wisdom. If something works, the reason they call it work is because it works. When something works, you put in the work to go do what works. That being said, you don't want to live your life just idolizing someone and trying to be them. You need to find your specific combination, your specific story, your specific DNA code. How do you do it? You get around the right kind of people. You get the wisdom, you take the wisdom from people who have it, and you go and you apply it. You're kind of a scientist. You hypothesize. If this works for Ryan, clearly works for someone, I'm going to give it a shot. And if it's not a good fit for me, if keto's not a fit for me, I don't do keto. If quitting drinking entirely isn't what I want to do, and I want to drink socially and have a couple of drinks on the weekend, that's okay as well. People hit the gym 7 days a week. Other people hit it 2 days a week. People sleep 8 hours. Other people sleep 6. Like, there is no one specific way of doing things. I think the most toxic thing, I don't know if it's toxic, but it's definitely polarizing in health and mindset and personal growth is gurus saying this is the answer. It's culty as hell. This is the answer. I am your fearless leader. Do exactly as I say. That's a bunch of BS. There is no key. There is no one answer. We need to find our own combination lock. So that's why I have a lanyard that says there is no key. If someone wants to be successful, they need to find their own path. And sometimes to find your own path, you're walking in the woods, getting scraped up, getting bit. You're in fear a lot of the time, but you need to find your own path, and the only way to do it is to do it. I mean, it's another thing that I think's been cliched right now, but like no one's coming to save you. I think faith is good. I think belief in God is good. I think belief in purpose is good, but no one's going to come down from the heavens and put you in their arms and take you on a magic carpet to the promised land. You need to go on that journey yourself. That's why I like the podcast, and it's not going to be pretty. No one's going to give you one key that opens the door to the promised land. You got to go find your own combination, and we'll just leave it at that, Ryan.
I love it, man. That's a great way to end the episode. So, Ben, I appreciate you being on here, spending your time with us and the audience, and you know, I I would love to have you back. I think, or at least interact with you again. I think you're a great dude. You've got a lot of things that are going well for you, and I think you're a great example of what can happen when, like we said, you can subtract a couple things out and really get down to what matters. I think that's awesome. So, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Ryan. Can I give a disclaimer?
Absolutely.
I'm not a life coach. I don't have it all figured out. I don't consult on this shit. I'm not an expert. I'm just giving y'all my perspective. And I just want to give that disclaimer that I don't even know if any of this stuff's right, man. I'm just a dude on the journey trying to figure it out, and that's what I've done so far.
Yeah, that's one of the I love the disclaimer. That's one of the things that throughout that it rings throughout everything that I try to do is like instead of instilling my opinion on someone, I say, here's what's worked for me. Here's the facts about the situation. You do what you need to do with those facts. And it's
Mm,
probably stopped me from getting a lot of business in different directions, but I didn't want that business anyway. So we're attracting the right stuff. So Ben, awesome stuff, man. I appreciate you, and we'll definitely get you back on here and interacting again. I appreciate you.
thanks, Ryan.